I sat across from my wife Jessica at our dining table in our Houston home, the wine glass trembling just a little in her hand. We'd been married for 6 years and I knew every tiny shift in her expression. Tonight something felt off, not guilt exactly but something like anticipation mixed with nerves. "Michael, I need to tell you something," she said, her voice steady as could be. "I've been sleeping with James." James, my best friend since college, the guy who'd been best man at our wedding, who came over every Sunday to watch football with us in our living room. Who Jessica had always said annoyed her with his bad jokes. I set my fork down carefully, the sound of metal on ceramic echoing loud in our suddenly quiet kitchen. My heart pounded hard against my ribs but I kept my face blank. Years of practicing law in Houston had taught me the power of silence. "For how long?" I asked quietly. 6 months. She took a sip of wine, watching me over the rim of the glass. "Maybe longer." I wasn't keeping track. 6 months. Half a year of lies. Half a year of him sitting on my couch drinking my beer, slapping my shoulder while secretly tangling himself in my sheets. The betrayal cut through me like a blade but I didn't flinch. "Say something, Michael," Jessica demanded, leaning forward. Her dark eyes flashed with something I couldn't quite name. Yell. Throw something. Do something, Michael. I looked at her. Really looked at her. The woman I'd promised forever to. The woman who had walked down the aisle in white lace, crying tears of joy. The woman who now sat before me with a confession like a weapon. "What do you want me to say?" I asked evenly. She laughed, sharp and bitter. "I want you to react like a normal person. I just told you I've been fucking your best friend and you're sitting here like we're discussing the weather. Would you prefer I hit something? Break things? I'd prefer you show me you actually care." She slammed her glass down. Red wine sloshing onto the white tablecloth like blood. "Do you even love me anymore, Michael? Are you too busy with your precious cases to notice your wife?" There it was, the justification. The groundwork she had been laying to make this somehow my fault. "I'm going upstairs," I said, standing slowly. My legs felt disconnected from my body, moving on autopilot. "That's it," Jessica's voice rose, frustrated. "You're just going to walk away?" I paused at the doorway, looking back at her. She looked almost disappointed, as if my calm reaction had ruined something she'd been anticipating. "What else is there to say tonight? You could fight for us." For me, she stood too, her chair scraping loudly. "Or you could do what you really want to do. Divorce me. I dare you, Michael. I fucking dare you to actually do something for once instead of hiding behind that lawyer mask of yours." I felt something settle in my chest, cold and final. "Okay," I said simply and walked away upstairs. Behind me I heard her furious gasp, then the sound of glass shattering against the wall. I didn't sleep that night while Jessica crashed in the guest room. I sat in my office with my laptop, the blue light washing over my face in the darkness. My hands were steady as I typed though my insides churned like a storm-tossed sea. First I opened my secure cloud storage and began organizing files, bank statements, property deeds, investment portfolios, email receipts. Everything we'd built together now transformed into evidence and assets to be divided. At 3 in the morning I had drafted an email to Michelle Chin, the best family law attorney in Houston and notably not someone from my own firm. "Michelle, I need to discuss representation in a divorce matter. This is time-sensitive and confidential. Available to meet tomorrow." When dawn broke, gray and cold through the windows, I had already made a dozen quiet moves. I documented everything I could remember. Dates James had been over. Times Jessica had worked late. The sudden password on her phone 6 months ago that I noticed but hadn't questioned. Jessica emerged around 8 looking exhausted but defiant. She found me in the kitchen making coffee, still wearing yesterday's clothes. "You look terrible," she said, pouring herself a cup. "Didn't sleep much." She studied me over the rim of her mug. "So are you going to take me back?" "I'm considering my options." "Your options," she laughed, humorlessly. "Michael, you realize half of everything is mine, right? The house, your precious savings account, your investments, your properties. You lose half of what you worked for. I'm aware of community property laws. And you're okay with that? With giving me hundreds of thousands of dollars because I made a mistake?" A mistake she called 6 months of deliberate deception. A mistake. Is it still happening? I asked instead of answering. With James? Her pause told me everything. Does it matter? Answer the question, Jessica. Yes, she set down her mug with a sharp click. Yes, it's still happening. He makes me feel alive, Michael. He makes me feel wanted. When was the last time you looked at me like I was more than just another fixture in your perfect controlled life? The accusation stung because there was a grain of truth in it. I had been working long hours. I had been distant. But that didn't justify this. I have a deposition today, I said, rinsing my mug. I'll be home late. Of course you will, her voice dripped with scorn. Running away like always. I grabbed my briefcase and headed for the door. As I reached it, I turned back. Jessica stood in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, beautiful and cruel in the morning light. For what it's worth, I said quietly, I did love you very much. Her face flickered with something. Surprise, maybe regret, but I didn't stay to analyze it. The deposition was a lie. Instead, I met Michelle in her office. A sleek space of glass and steel overlooking the Houston skyline. She listened without interruption as I laid out everything. Her expression carefully neutral. You want to move quickly, she said when I finished. Yes. And you want to protect your assets as much as possible. Michelle leaned back in her leather chair. Michael, I have to ask, are you certain about this? 6 years of marriage and you're ready to end it after one night. I thought about Jessica's face as she confessed. The challenge in her eyes, the dare. She didn't confess to end things or come clean, I said. She confessed to hurt me, to provoke me. This wasn't guilt. It was a power play that went wrong. All right, Michelle said. She pulled out a legal pad. Let's get started. 3 days passed in tense silence. Jessica and I moved through the house like ghosts, occupying the same space but existing in different worlds. She kept waiting for my explosion, for rage, for confrontation, for drama. Instead I gave her quiet mornings and polite distance. On Thursday evening, James showed up unannounced. I heard his familiar knock, 2 quick raps then 3, and felt my stomach twist. Jessica was upstairs and I could hear her hurried footsteps as she rushed down to answer. I stayed in the living room, file folders spread across the coffee table as if I were working. Through the doorway, I watched Jessica open the door. Saw James's easy smile falter when he saw her expression. What are you doing here? She hissed, low enough she thought I couldn't hear. You weren't answering your phone. I was worried. His voice carried the same casual confidence it always had. Is Michael here? He's in the living room. So you told him, right? Isn't that what you wanted? The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. She'd wanted me to know. She'd orchestrated the whole confession. Probably expecting me to throw James out, to fight him, to give her the dramatic confrontation that would justify whatever she'd been planning next. James, I called out, keeping my voice level. Come in. Jessica's face went pale. James stepped in, his smile uncertain. He was tall, athletic, with a kind of easy charm that had always made him popular. Looking at him now, I wondered how I'd never seen it. The way his eyes lingered on Jessica. The casual touches I'd dismissed as friendly. Michael, man, he started. How long have you been in love with her? I interrupted, standing up. The question caught him off guard. His mouth opened, closed. Jessica stood frozen in the doorway. Because it's obvious now, I continued, walking closer. Looking back, it's all obvious. The way you always made excuses to come over. How you'd find reasons to text her. I was so fucking blind. Michael, I never meant. You never meant to what? Sleep with my wife? Because you definitely meant to do that. My voice remained calm and quiet, which seemed to unsettle him more than shouting would have. Several times for 6 months. I love her, James said, lifting his chin. I've loved her for years. Since before you two got married. Jessica made a small sound, surprise or fear. I couldn't tell. And you? I turned to my wife. Did you love him? Or was it just convenient? Don't put this all on me, she snapped, finding her voice. You were never here, Michael. She chose your career over me every single time. So your solution was to choose my best friend. I chose someone who actually saw me. The arguments spiraled from there, accusations and justifications. Old wounds torn open. James stood uselessly in the middle, realizing perhaps that he'd been a pawn in whatever game Jessica had been playing with our marriage. Finally, I held up my hand. Enough. James, I want you out of my house. Jessica, we need to talk. Alone. James looked at Jessica, who wouldn't meet his eyes. Something passed between them. The first crack in their united front. Elena, he said softly. Just go, she whispered. After he left, Jessica turned to me with tears streaming down her face. Michael, I filed for divorce, I said calmly. You'll be served with papers tomorrow. Her tears stopped. You dare to divorce me? So I am. You can't be serious. I thought you would fight for us. Fight for us? I laughed, the sound bitter and broken. Jessica, there is no us anymore. You made sure of that. My lawyer will be in touch, I said and walked out of my own living room, leaving her standing there. The next 2 weeks revealed everything I needed to know about who Jessica really was. The papers were served on Friday morning by a professional process server. I was at the office when my phone exploded with calls and texts from her progressing from shock to anger to bargaining. You fucking coward, one text read. You can't even face me yourself. Another. We can work through this. I made a mistake. Don't throw away 6 years. And finally. You're going to regret this when I take everything. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I focused on what I did best, building a case. Michelle had been through my documentation and with her expertise we had already established a clear timeline of the affair. But I wanted more than just the divorce. I wanted protection. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source on Tuesday. James called me. Michael, we need to talk. I don't think we have anything to discuss. Please just meet me for coffee one time. Then I'll leave you alone. James looked haggard, his usual confidence dimmed. I fucked up, he said without preamble. I know this doesn't fix anything, but I need you to hear it. I'm listening. She's been planning this. The affair, the confession, all of it. She showed me the prenup you guys signed. She's been looking for a way out to maximize what she gets. She thought if you caught us, if you initiated the divorce in anger, she could claim emotional damages or some shit. Her lawyer told her she would have better leverage if you were the one who pulled the trigger while emotionally compromised. The coffee in my mouth turned bitter. She told you this? Not at first. At first it was all about how unhappy she was. How you didn't appreciate her. But after you filed, she started talking about strategy, about how to position herself. Michael, she's been documenting things too. Taking pictures of you working late, saving emails where you cancel plans. She's building a narrative that you were an absent, neglectful husband which gave her justification to cheat. Exactly, James looked genuinely miserable. I thought she loved me. I thought we were going to be together after this. She's been pulling back since you filed. Suddenly I'm a mistake again. Suddenly she's the victim of both of us. I processed the information, the lawyer part of my brain cataloging everything. She showed me the records over the past 8 months, starting even before the affair with James. Jessica had been siphoning off funds. Nothing massive enough to trigger alerts, but consistent enough to add up to nearly $40,000. She's been preparing for this for almost a year, I said, the realization settling like lead in my stomach. It appears so. I thought about our last anniversary. She'd seemed happy, we'd gone to her favorite restaurant, spent the weekend at a bed and breakfast in wine country. She told me she loved me. All while planning her exit. The divorce proceedings moved faster than Jessica expected, with James's testimony, documentation of the affair, and evidence of her financial maneuvering. Her position crumbled. Her lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia Harding, tried to pivot to the neglectful husband narrative but it gained no traction. In the settlement conference, Jessica sat across from me looking brittle and furious. Gone was the confident woman who dared me to divorce her. In her place was someone cornered and desperate. You have systematically destroyed my life, she hissed during a break while our lawyers reviewed documents in another room. I did nothing except respond to your actions. You were supposed to fight for me. You were supposed to care for me. There was nothing left to save. You made sure of that. I made a mistake. You made a series of calculated decisions over almost a year. That's not a mistake. That's a betrayal of everything we promised each other. She laughed bitterly. And you're so perfect. You think your cold analytical approach to everything doesn't have consequences. You think I didn't feel invisible in our marriage. If you felt invisible, you should have talked to me. You should have given me a chance to change. Instead you decided to blow it all up and try to profit from the wreckage. I loved you. That's what makes this so fucking sad. The final settlement gave me more than expected but less than I had hoped. Jessica got the guest house we'd bought as an investment property and a portion of our savings. I kept the main house, my investment accounts, and most importantly my reputation intact. The divorce was finalized on a gray Tuesday in March. I signed the papers in Michelle's office, my hands steady despite the surreal nature of ending a marriage with my signature. How do you feel? Michelle asked afterward. Like I've been holding my breath for months and can finally exhale. That evening I drove to the overlook on the north side of Houston where Jessica and I had gone on our first date. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. I sat on the hood of my car and let myself feel everything I had been holding back. Grief, anger, relief, exhaustion. I deleted the messages without responding. Another text this time from my sister Caroline. Heard the divorce was final, want to come over for drinks and dinner. Kids miss their uncle. I'll be there, I typed back. As I drove to Caroline's house in the suburbs, I thought about Jessica's dare. She gambled that I'd react with emotion rather than strategy. She underestimated the man she married, the one who could compartmentalize, who could plan, who could endure pain without showing it. The divorce wasn't entirely her fault, even if the betrayal was. You've been so calm through all of this. Too calm maybe. I had to be. If I let myself react the way I wanted to, I'd have made mistakes. And now I can start figuring out who I am without her. Without the marriage. Without the hurt. For what it's worth, Caroline said later that night. Alone in the house that was now solely mine, I walked through rooms that felt different without Jessica's presence. In the bedroom, I stripped the sheets we'd slept on and replaced them with new ones. A small ritual of reclaiming my space. I thought about her dare one last time. She dared me to divorce her, confident I wouldn't. Or that if I did, I'd do it poorly, emotionally, in a way she could exploit. The victory felt hollow. Because winning a divorce wasn't really winning anything. It was just surviving with the least amount of damage possible. But survival, I was learning, was its own strength. As I lay in bed the first night alone, truly alone, without the weight of secrets and lies and legal battles pressing down on me, I felt something unexpected. The marriage was over. The betrayal had cut deep. But I was still here, still standing, still capable of building something new from the ruins. Jessica had dared me to divorce her, expecting it to break me. Instead it freed me. And that, I realized, was the best revenge of all. Not anger or bitterness, but the quiet strength to walk away and build a better life without her. The dare had been a test I'd never asked for. But I had passed it. And now finally, I could begin again.